I want to thank Rick again, and I want to thank Organic Valley. Please give them a round of applause. In our next few sessions, we're going to focus on the importance of healthy soils and how to protect them to ensure nourished, resilient communities through regenerative agriculture. So joining me, we have Jyoti Jankowski, the head of Conscious Planet Save Soil North America. Please give her a round of applause. McEntire, the CEO and co-founder of Arva. Round of applause. And Annalyn Lavey, the founder and managing partner at Genus Land. I'm so sorry, Genus Land. I got it. So thank you all for being here. I want to thank Jay for the partnership with Food Tank. We really appreciate you and the collaboration.
We're honored to be here.
Thank you. So I want to start with Jay and Jyoti, and I'm hoping that you can both start by giving a little bit of context. What is happening with soils today, and why is it so important to not only protect them, but to preserve them and make them better?
Okay, so can you hear me? Thank you so much for having us here. And soil health is my passion, safe soil. I think one of the things is when I started on this journey about 3-4 years ago and learning and understanding the importance of soil health, it is the skin of the earth. It's our stomachs.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about trees being the lungs of the earth, but soil is the skin and it's our stomach. So it needs just as much awareness, protection, and we need to safeguard this, not just for our health. We've been talking about this for the last 1.5 days, about how important it is, where the food is coming from, but connecting food to soil. We talk about food as medicine. Soil is food.
Right.
So continuing that paradigm, continuing that narrative about the importance of food, but then connecting that to soil. And then the other thing is we have to safeguard this for the future generations. You hear these predictions that the UN is making. By 2050, 90% of our agricultural soils are going to be degraded. But we're going to be 9.2 billion people. How are we going to feed them? What are we going to do? So I think, and then the third thing I would just say is that soil affects everything. From climate change, it can mitigate 30% of our greenhouse gases, but also from water. It has a food crisis, obviously, but mass migrations. Civilizations have crumbled when you don't have our agricultural soil. So the impact of soil health is multifold and affects so many things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jyoti. Jay?
I started Arva as a result of just an aspiration as a landowner. My family's been buying farm near Stuttgart, Arkansas. And the organic matter in that soil was about 1.5%, which means it's a bacteria-dominated, not balanced with fungal and bacteria. And our farmers, and we were seeing an increasing turnover in the number of farmers I had tenant farmers, and we were losing farmers, either because of bankruptcy or aging out. And I look at this and I go, this is suboptimal as a landowner to look at this soil and say, this is just not right. So you go to Home Depot, you pick up potting soil, it's spongy, right? You can grab it, you can feel the sponge. It's got a lot of organic matter in there. That means dead microbes, earthworms have been through it, it's spongy. The soil that I had was like powder. And so you think about wind and water erosion, you're losing a massive amount of topsoil when we look at that. And then I'm going from just an investment, long-term preservation. This doesn't look like the right thing to be doing. So I started a research project in 2016 with Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, the University of Arkansas, and Oak Ridge to start to think about, can we use data and start to look at how can we start to quantify that change and start to look at this being a sustainable thing. We'll talk a little bit more about how that now connects to the global markets of where the people who are buying food need to be thinking about soil health as it relates to long-term viability. Because that farm, if we kept going in this direction, it wouldn't be 2050. It's going to be depleted. And in that condition, you're addicted to a cycle of chemicals and fertilizer. And Mother Nature is a damn good chemist. So glyphosate, hey, Mother Nature just said, hey, I'm going to turn this into an energy source. So the number of weeds that are resistant to chemicals is going exponential. So we have to be careful about what we think we can engineer and instead turn it and let's start figuring out how do we work with the earth to make this more sustainable.
Absolutely. Thank you both for all that. Annalyn, I want to turn to you, and you mentioned something really interesting to me, and I want to get it right. You told me that you're looking to transform land and improve soils by focusing on restoration with food and fiber as a byproduct, which really flips what we've been doing on its head. You know, we grow food, and then we think about the other things later. Why is this kind of framing important to the work you do, and I think the work that you all do?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me here. Genus land is a new concept that I was kind of asked to create in the last few months to kind of talk about this exact thing. So I represent a number of landowners and landless farm workers in Idaho. And soil is also our medium for water, right? So what's happening when we have no organic matter? The water doesn't infiltrate down into our aquifers. It's less bioavailable for the plants.
Right.
Less plants grow. So what we're dealing with in Idaho in increasing desertification and increasing drought cycles, right? So typically farmers will model off of a 7-year drought cycle, and we just experienced 10 years and one of the worst drought years ever. We need to start talking about restoring ecology and having land stewards who are specifically professionally focused on establishing a healthy ecology, and that will be reflected in soil organic matter, infiltration of water, and the amount of food that comes off of it. Off of a system that we've been gleaning more than 2% or 10%, which used to be our methodology, for 120 years, we need to think about how we put more back into that. And so that's kind of the foundation of Genus. How do we get 1% organic matter to 4% organic matter and build from there?
And really proving that model, like you're living that right now. I think it's very interesting that you're just like in it.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to be a part of it, right? It's not just supporting it. We are nature. And so I've had a career in finance and technology. And, you know, the shared ownership model in technology is something that I'd like to bring forward into land. We have to talk about partnership, and we have to talk about us being our food. We are a living environment, right? Our skin is the skin's earth. And so when you think about it that way and put yourself in that position, whether you're in a city or not, like Karen Washington was saying, like, get to a farm. There's farms all over, and you have to be a part of it to be a part of the solution. It's not creating a solution, it's being inside of it.
Absolutely. And on that solution point, and this is a question for all of you, and this is something that concerns me a lot because I go to a lot of conferences about food and agriculture where there are no farmers, right? How do we make sure that all of these conversations are farmer-centered and that farmers have, you know, they're not just sitting on stage, but they have a role in decision-making and, you know, are at the forefront of research and development, not at the back end? Jyoti?
Yeah. So I mentioned my personal journey started about 4 years ago with soil. But we've been working with farmers for about 30 years now. And we have about 250,000 farmers that we've been working with. And they've been transitioned to tree-based agriculture and regenerative agriculture. And they are the ones, they're the experts. So to support these farmers, for example, to talk about bringing their expertise, we have WhatsApp groups to support these farmers in these small areas. We have 100,000 farmers on WhatsApp groups.
It's amazing.
And these WhatsApp groups are manned by farmers. So it's farmers supporting farmers. They're smaller, little different groups in their own geographical locations. They can take a photo, send it, the other farmers will tell them. And it's 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, these farmers are supported. Because like you've heard from all these different farmers that we've been hearing from, it's not a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday job. This is something that they do day in and day out.
Yeah.
So really supporting the farmers. Then taking all this knowledge and bringing it to a place that's actually implementable. Where, for example, right now, we have a youth initiative. So our youth are working with UN and with Youngo, which is part of the UN, and working with the World Farmers, I always get the World Farmer Organization.
Right.
Yeah. And bringing the farmers to the table when it comes to policy. So the policy is not just being drafted by somebody else, but the farmers be part of the policy making as well too. So from all the gamut, from actually supporting farmers to what insects are a challenge for them to going to the UN with farmers to create the policies.
So important. Thank you so much for that. Jay?
How we talk to farmers is important. Hold judgment. Every farmer wants to be sustainable. Every farmer is there making a living on that land, and if he can't plant next year, he can't be sustainable. So what we experienced when we started Arva was that a lot of resistance, because a lot of programs that were sponsored by big corporations would come to the farmer and tell them what they needed to do better. We're not in a position, we need to work with the farmers, meet farmers where they are, because they're all wanting to be more sustainable and profitable. It just makes sense. They own the land, they till the land, they nurture the land. They're all hunters and fishermen. I like to hunt and fish, and I don't want chemicals running off into the and losing that land. Every farmer in the Mid-South has biodiversity assets that he harnesses and manages to make that land he wants to feed deer because we can go deer hunting. It's just part of what nature is. So I think what our role is here, and thank you to Danielle and Food Tank, is to help educate those who now care. And there's a commercial reason they should really care about this, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but how we approach farmers and help them and engage at this level to help. We have what's called a regen ag score, where we're helping to move and matriculate farmers up and help teach them and incentivize them and provide the incentives so that they can. And as they do, more environmental benefits come out of that. The co-benefits come out of that. We saved 6 billion gallons of water last year in rice cultivation. Translate that into Texas water dollars, that's $10 million. We're long water in Arkansas, but saving water is co-benefit of these practices. And the environmental, we flood for ducks, there's biodiversity. So think about this as a natural asset. And engaging with the farmers, we're all here because we care. That is where we're going to get the biggest scale and biggest impact.
Absolutely. Annalyn.
Well, I think I'll come at it from a bit of a different angle with finance. So there is a massive land transition tidal wave coming our way by 2030. So $2.5 trillion worth of land will change hands in the next few years. And that number, I hope it's till 2030, but if farmers have the ability to get out in the next bunker year, they will. So it may come faster. At the same time, we have a wealth succession that mirrors that about $16 trillion over that same period of time. But that will fracture into a number of different pools of capital, so it won't match up with this land succession. So my first response would be succession planning for farmers and making sure that working lands remain working lands and intact as much as possible. My second point that I would like to kind of drive home, I know this crowd really gets data as well as food, is that the farmers need to own their data, but not only own their data, but harness their data. So the data that is going to be collected by all these ecosystem service schemes and different ways of supporting farmers via insurance, they need to own that data, but that data needs to be used to make better operational decisions. So when we're requesting that data, it should be to better them, not to better everything else.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen, for sure. That leads me to another question. How can we make sure that farmers are recognized, acknowledged, compensated for preserving land, preserving biodiversity, putting carbon back in the soil? What does that look like?
Awareness. I think knowledge is something we need to do. They're doing all the work, but they need all of us to be able to get this information out. So I think I've spoken to you, what we do with Save Soil is 3 different things. We work with the farmers, so we work on the ground with the farmers. We do advocacy work. We work with policymakers, the UN, different countries. We have MOUs signed with a couple of countries to see what we can do. But the awareness is what's needed. Just like everybody understands the importance of trees, everybody needs to understand the importance of soil. And soil is managed and handled and stewardship is going to the farmers. Agricultural soils was where we really need to think about, because they have the answers to our future. They are our future.
Yeah.
The farmers are what's our future from food crisis, our future from climate change, from water, from everything. So we need to amplify all the work we're doing. And we do this in a variety of different ways. We do this via social media. We have a YouTube channel too that to help with farmers. I think it has 1 million views. And it's in indigenous language, whatever language they're speaking. But using the technology that's there that we can amplify all of their work is, I think, what's really needed.
Absolutely. Jay, how does Arva think about this?
This is the core to our business. We have clients, large consumer packaged good companies. We also have energy companies that have made commitments. This is a voluntary market. Regardless of what side on the political, it's a free country. People can make commitments to reduce their emission profile. So we have been working with the large corporations to help them connect with farmers, to help farmers get paid. We've paid out $60 million over the last 2 years to farmers for regenerative practices. And that's making a difference. And when you're at a commodity classic and the farmers come up to you and people that we work with and they say, "You've changed my life," I mean, it's meaningful. It's meaningful because these are real dollars. $20 an acre in today's environment when most crops are not profitable is money that farmer can now save and bank on. But it's really important because it may be the difference when working with Riceland Foods in Arkansas. What we found is the board members at the USA Rice Conference came up to us and said, "Can we please get the numbers to these farmers? Because it may make the difference of whether or not they get that crop loan or not." So now starting to understand what I have, an environmental balance sheet as a farmer. Our job is to help represent the farmer and help him understand what he's playing for. And that's part of what we do with the data is basically we license the data from the farmer, not to sell it, but to help him figure out what he's playing for and what he can do to move the needle. Yes. Well, thank you. Or her.
Thank you. Annalyn.
So I'll do a brief story to kind of get to my point of how we support this. So I work with one of the former largest lamb producers in the United States, and they graze just under 1 million acres, Lava Lake lamb, and they used to provide lamb coast to coast. They were from Cinderella to Rainbow Market in California. Their herd, because of their missing middle infrastructure, they had a co-op where they processed, has reduced from tens of thousands to the hundreds. And that's not enough animal impact for the land to get paid for ecosystem services. So a big call to action is really project finance for this missing middle infrastructure. And every single person here has probably some money in a bank account somewhere. And those banks invest your money while you sleep. And those banks invest in project finance. So go in, talk to your bankers, ask what missing middle infrastructure they're supporting. That's a really important key to this as well. How do we finance the restoration of mycelium networks?
Right. So cool. I love it. Thank you for bringing that up. These panels go by so fast, y'all. I want to give you you all a chance to talk about your call to action. So, Jyoti.
So call to action for this crowd here, what we're looking at is getting involved. We have something called Earth Buddies. This is a commitment to spend 10 minutes a day. And 10 minutes a day to educating yourself. 10 minutes a day of talking to somebody about the importance of this. 10 minutes a day thinking about the food you're eating, whatever that looks like for you, but spend 10 minutes a day, whether it's online, whether you're talking to your neighbor, your friends, anybody. If we all come together and do this, the level of awareness that rises up, then we can make the changes on the policy aspects. We have lots of campaigns that go on. We have letter writing campaigns to your legislations. We have, to date, in the last 3 years, we've written 500,000 letters to legislators across the globe.
Wow.
Right now, we're doing an Earth Day campaign that's coming up on Earth Day, because Earth Day's theme this year is renewable energy power. And the theme of our campaign is Your Next Meal, Powered by Soil. And we're going to do a digital potluck where people just take photos of your food and you post it, and we'll create this whole collage of it. So like this, just really getting involved in a very fun and joyful way, so people feel like this is something I want to do and it's important to me.
Right, and those letters work because legislators, staffs count them, and they have to act on them, they have to respond to them. Annalyn, what's your call to action?
Well, I'm going to speak to the larger organizations in the room because I'd like to match them with larger ranchers who are trying, and farmers who are trying to really restore their soil. Find a farmer or a farmer network and future contract. This is super important. We need to be able to rely on each other and work together, and we are not going to be able to bridge this with insurance in the short term.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Jay, you get the final word, but before you do, thank you for this collaboration. Thank you. We're really
Thank you,
grateful.
Danielle. We're honored to be here again. It all boils down to network. And our goal for Climate Week this year, last year we did with a whole Delhi's, Cheez-Its, Kellanova, and Bartlett Wheat Mill. Trump championed some regenerative wheat farmers that at the end of the day, once we finished quantifying everything, they went from 7,000 tons of emission reporting at Kellanova to net negative wheat. That's material as we start to think about where do we want to source our long-term ingredients from in the commercial side, but now plugging in different people on the level so that we can all participate and claim in this benefit. So it matters when it gets to the retailer where the consumer is making choice on regenerative. Organic's important. It's a small part. The regenerative is different in terms of what we're trying to do. It's not different. It's very similar, but it's not. It's around soil health and optimizing the agronomy for that. And so just because it's organic doesn't mean it's regenerative. Focus on regenerative agriculture and where that falls into your choices at the grocery store, and then our job is to help go from there across to now figure out a way for people to plug in, because there are corporations that have made commitments and they don't know what to do. So our job is to be a resource and help them plug in to a broader network to leverage what we've already created and make this and expand the market for participation, and I think that's key.
So powerful. Thank you all so much. Please give these panelists a round of applause. Thank you all so much.